Hi, everybody. It's Rebecca West here with the Greater Seattle SCORE chapter, here to present our Writing a Quick Business Plan in 1 Hour presentation. Now, obviously, this is a lot of content, and typically we teach this in a 3-hour class, so it's going to go quick. Make sure you've got your pen and paper ready, and I hope you're well rested, have some hydration, because we're going to dive right in. Let me start my screen sharing, and we will do exactly that. Okay, so as I said, we are here for the quick business plan basics using a tool we call the Lean Canvas. It is presented by the Greater Seattle SCORE chapter, and I am Rebecca West. Our objective today is to make sure that you can get a really great foundation, a really great start to your business planning process. In about an hour, you're going to map out the bullet points of a business plan. And of course, there's going to be a lot of details to flesh out later, but this is going to give you a great start and a great foundation. As I mentioned, we're going to be going quick, but that's great because it helps you avoid the overthinking that can come with being an entrepreneur and just write down the first thing that comes to mind. If you have questions, typically I would say that everybody's going to be muted and then you can unmute yourself if you have questions. But for purposes of today's session, we don't have the option to engage with our voices. So there is going to be an option to chat with me and I will answer the questions as they come in, but I won't be able to communicate with you directly. So as I said, if we were in a normal session, we would be able to let you chat. Today, just type those questions if you have them as they come up. Also, because I'm not actually behind the scenes, I don't know if everybody got access to the handout. If not, don't worry. We are going to be answering 7, 9, oh my gosh, I've lost track. Anyway, a series of questions, as you can see in the boxes on the handout on the screen. If you would like to print out a version of this and you didn't get access to that, you can literally type into Google Lean Canvas template and you will see tons of images of this handout and you can print out whatever version you find. So again, if you'd like to follow along using the handout and you didn't get access to it, you can type into Google Lean Canvas template. There will be lots of images of this. Or you can just write down the categories as we go, as we answer, and bullet point out the boxes that you're seeing here on this handout. And then, as I mentioned, I'm Rebecca West. I'm a volunteer with SCORE. I'm a small business mentor and a workshop presenter. Professionally, I am also a small business person. I am the CEO of a residential interior design firm called Seriously Happy Homes. We've been in business for 13, going on 14 years. We have a team of 6 going on 7 people, and we're based out of the Green Lake area. I'm also a coach to other interior designers who are looking to start their own interior design firms. And whether I am volunteering or helping people with their homes or coaching other interior designers or teaching workshops like this, what I'm always trying to do is turn really big goals into actionable steps. And that's what I'm hoping happens for you here today. Again, if we were in a normal session, I would now ask all of you to tell me who you are and your proposed business or business idea. The reason I left this slide in here is because I want you to focus on that proposed business or business idea section right here on this slide. You may have a lot of different business ideas. That's really normal for budding entrepreneurs or serial entrepreneurs. What I want you to do for purposes of today's exercises is choose one very focused idea, because you can go through the process that we're going to go through today for every single idea that you have, and you can use that to identify your best, most profitable, most passionate idea. And you can set the other ones aside, again, using this Lean Canvas template, okay? So think about your many, if there are many business ideas, and pick one to focus on. If within that one idea, you think you're going to be serving multiple groups, again, try to pick one group to focus on. It'll be much more successful. But I would like to introduce you to the Dude. The Dude is a fictional character we created at Seattle SCORE to help you make decisions and create plans for your new business. And we'll be using his 4 different business ideas along the way to help illustrate some of our points. We'll have the Dude's Cowboy Chili Parlor, the Dude's School of Roping and Writing, the Online World of Chili, and his indestructible all-weather cowboy hat, all various versions of how to have a business: retail, service businesses, online businesses, wholesale businesses. They all operate from the same foundational principles. So no matter what business idea you have, what we talk about here today is going to apply. Now, before we get into actually working on your business idea, let's talk about the landscape of being a business owner. According to SBA data, unfortunately, about 50% of small businesses fail within 5 years. And there's a lot of reasons for that. So the first thing I want to say is that just because that data says that half the people in today's session are going to go out of business within 5 years, doesn't mean you're going to be one of them. There are 4, and I would say 5 main reasons that businesses go out of businesses within those first 5 years. Number 1, they don't have enough cash cushion, literally money, to sustain them between the period where money is flowing out to launch the business to that period where money is flowing in, not only to be profitable to make, but also to make up for all that money that you may have invested at the launch. So if you don't have enough of a cash cushion, you may have the world's best business, but you may go out of business. Second is that they have a poor marketing strategy. Maybe they have plenty of money to float them through those early days, months, years. And maybe they have a great business, but they don't have a really good strategy for getting their business and their idea in front of the eyeballs of the people who will give them money for that product or service. The third reason is that they don't have a really good revenue to cost model. You can make $2 million per widget, but if it costs you $4 million per widget to create it and get that widget in front of your buyer, then you don't have a good cost model, okay? So it's not about how much or how little your product or service costs. It's about the balance of that as compared to how much or how little it costs to create and provide that service or product. The fourth reason, of course, is poor management and operational control. You can have a great business idea, a great marketing plan, a great revenue to cost model, and plenty of money to sustain you through those early days. But if you're not a good boss of yourself, of your team members, of your overall structure, the whole thing can fall apart for that reason too. And then, as I said, I kind of feel like there's 5 reasons. And the 5th reason is that people just wear out. It is exhausting to be a business owner, especially if you don't make strategic choices along the way that are going to help support you as you grow. So some people just get into it and they go, that was a fun adventure, but it's more than I wanted to take on, and it didn't give me the work-life balance that I was looking for. If you can get ahead of some of those problems, then you can have a business that takes you decades into the future and leaves a legacy for your kids, for the world, for whatever purpose you're aiming for. But those are all things that you want to keep an eye on if you want to be the 50% of small businesses that succeed after 5 years. And of course, planning, what you're here for today, is part of managing that risk so that you can set yourself up for success. So I'm so glad you're here today. So how much planning do you need to do? Well, everybody needs to do the kind that we're doing today, that quick planning. Most people, it's fair to say everybody also needs to then take that quick planning and do detailed planning. But not everybody needs to do a formal business plan, which is what most people think about when they think of business planning at all. So you do need a formal business plan when any substantial money is at risk, especially if that money is coming from an outside source like a bank or an angel investor. They're going to expect you to put the work into a formal business plan so that they can see your thought process from A to Z and make sure that they're investing in something that is likely to pay out. Okay. So if you're putting a lot of money at risk, if you are getting a physical site, and that's not just, leasing an office for $300 a month. We're talking about a building, equipment, big outpourings of early money. Or if you're going to have a really complex product or business, especially one where you're putting other people's livelihood on the lines because you're going to have employees. So there are plenty of times when you do need a formal business plan, but that's not what today is about. Today is about that quick planning where we're going to pencil out your idea and make sure that you've been able to answer all of those boxes. That means that you have an idea with enough foundation that it could succeed. Once you can fill out all of those boxes, then you need to do some detailed planning to make sure that you know the numbers that go with all those bullet points. And as I said, if you really need to show someone the money, you may need to turn all of that into a formal business plan. But the quick planning and the detailed planning will all be part of the outlining and fleshing out that would create a formal business plan. So no matter what, you are in the right place right now if you're at the start of your entrepreneurial journey or revamping something you've been at for a while. So all that said, it's now time to dive into that quick business plan, that lean canvas worksheet. As I mentioned, if you didn't get access to it before this session, it's okay to Google lean canvas worksheet. You'll get lots of images of this template, okay? All right, so now that I've said all that, let's do it. The lean canvas, what the heck even is it? It's a quick planning technique that's meant for startups, right? It's meant to get your head around all the different aspects of the business to make sure you have a fleshed out idea. It's based upon what's called the business model canvas, but it's more product focused instead of tech startup focused. And it's meant to help you really quickly test and verify and modify your ideas so that you know you have something solid. It's meant to help you start that organized, detailed planning process. Again, I said start because there is work to be done after this. And align your product, your solution, with a well-defined problem that somebody out there is having, because nobody's going to give you money if you're not solving a problem for them of some kind. And maybe just as important, this is also supposed to help you figure out if you can make money from this business, because if you're not making money from it, it's just a hobby. Nothing wrong with a hobby, but it's not going to pay the bills. The lean canvas is only one page because it's supposed to be brief. It's meant to keep your thinking really high level, kind of draft brainstorming level. That means you can't make mistakes. Don't be afraid to just put your ideas down on paper because you can work through them later. It will, as I said, become a list of items that will need further research and detailed planning. And then once you've gone through 20, 30 iterations of this one page, when it's finalized, it's meant to be a business plan at a glance with just a few bullet points in each box so that you can make sure that you're always in sync with your planning and you're not getting off course. It's so easy as entrepreneurs to get all these different ideas and then you get stretched really, really, really thin, and that's not going to be good for the long-term health of your business or your body. So let's go ahead. Let's test out this product or service idea that you have using the lean canvas. So we're going to start with boxes number 1 and number 2. So those first 2 boxes on the lean canvas say problem and solution. And what you want to do is identify 3 problems that your customers or your prospective customers have, and 3 ways that your service or your product is directly going to solve that problem. So let's think about those top 3 customer problems, and let's think about where people are going to solve those problems without you available on the market, okay? Because just because whether you exist or not with your service or your product, people still have whatever problem you're trying to solve for them. So they have that problem. Where are they going right now? That's one of the things we want to think about, because we're going to want to distinguish ourselves from those solutions that are already out there. When you're thinking about the customer problems, this is your opportunity to be of service to them. Try to go deeper than that top level. So I'm an interior designer. I could just stay at the top level of my clients don't have a kitchen that they like and they want to have a kitchen that they like. Okay, that's not a very deep problem. So then think like a toddler. Use the whys. Well, why is that important? Why do they want that? Okay. And the whys are going to get more specific and more juicy with every level you dig down. And it really helps you identify and uncover the problem the customer is really asking you to solve. So in my case, yeah, of course they want a new kitchen or a new suite of living room furniture, but they could ask 100 of my colleagues to do that same work for them. They come to us. One of the reasons is because they have no time. They don't want to work with a designer who's going to spend the next 9 months with them designing a kitchen. They want to get in and out of the design process as quickly as possible. So my clients have a problem of time, and the way we created our services helps to solve the time problem. So it's not just the top level problem of they want a new kitchen, but it's those deeper problems of they don't have the talent to do it themselves, or they don't trust themselves to do it themselves. They don't have the time to do it themselves, even if they do have the talent or even interest to do it. So when you think about your product or service, think, okay, but why do they want to solve this problem? Why do they have this problem in the first place? What are they really hiring me to do for them for example, save them time. And then always be thinking about what products or service alternatives, i.e. competitors, are out there right now to help them solve that problem. Because if you're not solving it better or different, or serving a different client base than what's already out there, you're going to have a much tougher time marketing your new business. So you think about the problem, ideally 3 different problems, because you want to be going a little bit deeper than that top level problem. So in my company, definitely time is part of it. Fear of making big, expensive mistakes and having a project draw out too long. So helping with a lot of pre-planning. I'm not going to go a lot into my own business, but I want to give you a realistic, a concrete sense of what we're talking about here. You take those 3 problems and then you align them with 3 aspects of your specific product or business that directly solves those problems, right? So again, going back to the time thing for me, I was born military, Swiss, and Baptist. I am nothing if not efficient. And so I am leveraging my natural desire to be efficient and get things done to help people solve a time problem that they have in the industry I've chosen, which happens to be interior design. So you're going to start with you're going to notice a couple of things as you go through the slides, little ghosts. Right here, it says, start with a product or service description from your unique value statement. When we teach the 3-hour version of this class, there's another section that we do, and you can actually pull from that work that we do and use it here. Ignore that for now, but think about what are the top 3 aspects or features of how you are going to deliver your product or your service that directly solves the problems your customers have, the reason they can't do this on their own, okay? You'll notice right at the bottom of this slide, it says optionally, what are the essential features of your product that need to be sold? What's that minimum viable product? This is an important thing to keep coming back to, because as entrepreneurs, we tend to explode our businesses and we go like, we can do this, we can help these people, we can also do this, we can also help those people. And you will get stretched really thin really quickly, and your marketing message is going to get really diluted, and it's going to be harder for you to be successful in business. So always try to come back to the fundamentals. These are the 3 problems my clients have. These are the 3 ways we solve those problems. So if we talk about the dude's cowboy chili parlor, he might have identified that his customer problems are that there are no informal family style restaurants in the downtown area of Bothell where he lives. And few of the restaurants that do exist provide affordable, full ranges of food and drinks for the whole family, adults and children. And then he's thinking about, well, where are they going? Because they're definitely going out to eat. And they're probably going to the chain restaurants in the local malls or locally on the interstate, because they're easy to get to, and that convenience is a high priority for those customers. So he says, well, great, I'm going to open a restaurant in Central Bothell with a family-friendly theme, and it's going to have affordable prices with both a kids menu and a full bar. And again, then he digs deeper into the alternatives that clients might have available, or customers in this case, thinking about Applebee's, Chili's, Olive Garden, places that are within the proximity of downtown Bothell, where he's planning to set up shop, because he needs to keep thinking, how am I going to be unique and different from the alternative solutions that are currently out there? Okay, so I'm going to give you 1 minute, and you're going to jot down 3 problems your customers have and 3 ways your service or product directly and specifically solves each problem. All right. And with those problems, try to go a little bit deeper than just what you're actually creating for them, because that's going to set you apart in the marketplace. Okay. You got 1 minute. I'm going to mute myself. Okay, so now, oops. Now we're going to work on the third box on the lean canvas. We've talked about the problems your customers are having and the solutions that you are offering to them. That is the most fundamental part of this business idea that you have. You must identify a problem and you must offer to solve it. But now you want to level that up. You want to make sure that you are solving it in a different and worth paying attention to kind of way. This is called the unique value proposition. So this is building on what we already talked about, right? The idea of you guys have problems, I'm offering to solve it, but here's how I'm going to solve it better, faster, different, targeted towards a specific group of people that is underserved right now, something along those lines. So with the unique value proposition, again, this is something that we would have worked on earlier in the 3-hour version of this class from the unique value statement, and you could transfer it over, but not today. So you want to think about, do the benefits, what I'm trying to say is, in the unique value proposition, you want to first really ask yourself honestly, are the solutions you're offering actually solving your customers' problems? Or do they just sound good, right? You want to make sure you're actually solving your customers' problems. And then this whole unique value proposition, if you can write this in terms of like what your customer gains in terms of like more time, or loses like less stress, less anxiety, what they're going to gain or lose as a positive from buying your product, it's going to be even more compelling and even more useful when it comes to marketing this business idea that you have. So let's use an example here. If the dude were opening that same cowboy chili parlor, he, as we mentioned, identified that there's a lack of informal family style restaurants in downtown Bothell, and few of them provide affordable full ranges of food and drink options for families. He's offering a restaurant in Central Bothell with a family-friendly theme, which has affordable prices, a kids menu, and a full bar. And then he just summed that up in, hey guys, I'm offering easy to get to, value priced family Tex-Mex dining in a fun cowboy experience. So it's not like he had to reinvent the wheel. He just took what he'd written down as the problems and the solutions and packaged it into, this is why I'm worth paying attention to. This is what I'm bringing to Bothell. Okay, so that's what you want to think about when you're thinking about your unique value proposition. As I alluded to, in the 3-hour version of this, we create what's called a unique value statement. And that unique value statement is, my product or service is X, I will sell it to Y, and it provides them the unique value of. And that unique value of is the unique value proposition, the why I, the customer, should care. Okay, we're going to be digging into the the what it is your problem and your solution. It's actually your solution. And the who it's for, we haven't gotten to that on the Lean Canvas yet. All right, but for today's purposes, you want to think, why should the customer care that you are going to be available on the market when there's already lots of people out there probably solving for the same problem that you've identified? So I'm going to give you another minute here, and I want you to write down your unique value proposition, why your customers should be so excited that you and your service or product are now available to them. Go ahead. I'm going to mute myself again. right. Now, before we continue, at this point in the 3-hour presentation, I get a lot of questions around marketing, and I see people trying to write a lot of marketing speak. You don't need to do that yet. But I'd like to give you a sneak peek into how what we're working on then translates into a marketing message later. So for example, with the Dude's Cowboy Chili Parlor, I could then turn that into a little pin-up that I put over at Starbucks or at your local coffee shop, and it says, the Dude's Cowboy Chili Parlor, Bethel's Tex-Mex Cowboy Saloon, featuring a full menu for the kids and a full bar for the grown-ups. Family owned and family friendly. Saying the exact same thing I've been saying, but with just a little bit of a marketing spin to it. Then if I was at a networking meeting, I can take the exact same information, but I don't want to memorize it, right? This is related to that idea of an elevator speech, but those should never be memorized. You just want to know your content so well that it comes out naturally. Like if somebody said, what do you do? And I might say, oh yeah, I own a Tex-Mex Cowboy Saloon in Bothell. We've got cowboy themed cocktails for the grown-ups. We have a full menu for the kids. It's right over by the QFC. Have you seen it? And it's a conversation. And then if I were also going to say start an Instagram feed for my new cowboy saloon, I might create something like this, where I want to make sure that everything that I just said is illustrated visually. So I want to show photos of adults drinking adult beverages. I want to show kids having fun. And I want to show colors and images of food that evoke that Tex-Mex vibe. And I might use some word graphics that really reinforce what we're talking about, like kid-friendly, happy hour, since those two things are a unique mashup and will catch people's attention. So we're not trying to create your marketing plan today, okay? So please don't try to do that, but know that the work you're doing right now will make that marketing plan much easier. All right, let's work on box number 4. My numbers are off here. My goodness, you guys. As you can see, a human is teaching this class today. Unfair advantage. This is my favorite, okay? Because it is the thing that means that there is plenty of room for all of us in the marketplace. As an interior designer, I have so many colleagues right here in the Seattle area, nationally, globally. And I really do believe that there is room for all of us to be in the marketplace, because how we provide our services, what services we provide, our personalities that go with it, where we shop, what luxury level we shop at, not to mention what design aesthetic we tend to be excelling at. All of that creates these wonderful, unique puzzles that means each of us can have a place in the market. But it only works if we identify our unique puzzle instead of just relying on one generic puzzle piece, right? So unfair advantage is a really great part of turning all of your competitors into colleagues. The unfair advantage is something that can't easily be copied or bought, because otherwise it'd be really easy for somebody else to copy it or buy it, and then it's not so much of an unfair advantage anymore. So you want to think about what aspects of the product or business make it difficult for competitors or your colleagues to match you, because this is how you are going to defend against that concept of competition. And you won't have to defend if you do well enough with this concept. Then you want to make sure you consider if it can be reflected in that value proposition, right? That box which was about why should I care as your customer? You want to make sure that this unfair advantage ideally is reflected in your value proposition. And if it's not yet, it's okay. You can adjust it later. This can take a while to identify, especially if you have any version of imposter syndrome. So consider it a challenge to develop it, maybe with your mentor if you don't have it yet. So with the Dude's Online World of Chili, maybe he would say, oh yeah, I am a recognized expert. And I have an encyclopedic, unique knowledge of sauces and chilies from around the world. And I've developed personal relationships with numerous manufacturers of sauces and chili from around the world. Now that's something that somebody else could probably do, but it's going to take time, right? Let's say it took him 10 years to develop all those relationships and some random, National Geographic adventures that he went on. Well, somebody else could totally do that, but it's going to take them at least 5 to 10 years to do the same thing. And by then he'll already have grown 10 years forward in his business. So there's no need for him to worry about somebody else creating their own set of relationships. But the more unique and the more uncopyable you can make something, the better. I personally really like to dig into people's backgrounds for these unfair advantages. For myself, I had 3 that had nothing to do with interior design. Number one, I used to teach ballroom dance, which meant I was really good at working with couples and helping them get on the same page without fighting. Number two, I had a geology degree. So my science background helped me, basically it helped me work with my engineering and my tech and my dude clients who were not interested in fluffy throw pillows. They needed the practical nature of interior design. Because I was coming to interior design from a background in science, I was able to bring that to the table with that mentality. So those are two examples of unfair advantages from my background that had nothing to do with interior design, but helped me to be successful compared to some of my colleagues who had other unfair advantages that I didn't have. So I'm going to give you a minute here, and you're going to write down what about your or your team's personality or background makes you especially well suited to helping your clients or customers. And like I said, it doesn't have to be industry related, although you will want to fold that back into your value proposition. Remember earlier where I said my clients, they have a problem of not enough time, and I was born and raised military, Swiss, and Baptist. So I am naturally efficient, which is part of my unfair advantage for solving the time problem. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a minute, mute myself, and I'll be right back. Next up, we have customer segments and actually the channels. I like to describe this as you don't want to hang out at the wrong party, right? You want to make sure that the people who want to buy from you are the ones getting your message. So this starts to get into the marketing that you're going to be doing to make sure that your product or service gets in front of the right eyeballs. If you stay too generic about your product, your service, the problems you're trying to solve, how you're going to solve them, how you're unique and different from your colleagues and competitors, if you've stayed too generic up until this point, which I see all the time because people are terrified of choosing a niche, this stuff's going to get tricky. And it's important because if you're like, I can help all the people, then you'd better have the world's biggest marketing budget, because they say your message has to get in front of somebody 7 times before they'll make a buying decision. And if you want to get your message in front of the world's population 7 times, like I said, you'd better have a really, really healthy marketing budget. So better to narrow your focus and identify who are your target best customers, and even better, who are your early adopters, because then you can focus both your message and your budget at that group of people. So think about describing the purchaser who is most likely to purchase your product first, right? They're literally standing somewhere with a fistful of money, waiting for you to come on the market so they can give you that money. Then when you identify that group of people, that goes hand in hand with the channels, the paths to getting in front of the eyeballs of your customer segment. So first you have to identify who is waiting to buy from you. And then you have to figure out, where are they hanging out? All right. Now that could be social media channels like Facebook or Instagram or TikTok. It could be real life places like networking events. It could be in magazines, either industry magazines or consumer magazines. Like, let's say that the people you're going to serve are always flying Alaska Airlines. Maybe you want to do an article for Alaska Airlines. So the channels are how you're going to get your message in front of your customers, and you want to make sure that the channel aligns with where your customers are at. So if you're trying to target people under 30, Facebook might not be your best investment. Maybe you want a presence there, but you don't put a ton of time and money into it. But if you're trying to target people over 30 and 40, Facebook might be a great choice. So make sure that you're thinking about who really wants to give you their money and that your channels are aligned with that group. So for example, if the dude was opening a school of roping and riding, he might say that his target customers are people who own horses within 25 miles of Bothell, and that the early adopters, the people who are going to buy from him first, are probably first-time horse owners. Then he identifies that the channels he's going to use are to work with local stable owners, horse breeders, and tack shops, because obviously if you just bought a horse, you need a bunch of gear. And he might attend related festivals and fairs and develop a customer referral system so that, because, you know, horse owners know horse owners, so that they can refer each other. So now you're going to take a minute, you're going to write down and describe a specific group of people who is likely to eagerly buy your service or product first, and pair that with at least one channel you will use to get your product or service in front of their eyeballs. Go ahead. Next up, we have key metrics. These are key activities that you're going to want to measure as part of being in business. And if you take no other piece of advice from me, please start this early while it's easy, literally while it feels dumb to measure stuff because you like have one customer. That's when you want to start measuring stuff because it's easy, and that's going to give you a ton of information later when you want to make strategic decisions for your company. And if you wait too long, you're going to miss out on a bunch of data that could have helped you be strategic earlier. So the question is, how are you going to measure success other than your financial statements, those profit and loss statements? So those are going to track your revenue, your costs, and the profit at the end, but you want to measure a lot more than that so that you can decide who to hire, when to hire, which service to elevate or market, which service to maybe mothball because it's not very profitable. You cannot make these decisions without measuring stuff. Let's say the dude was opening that cowboy chili parlor. He might measure the number of customers per serving at both lunch and dinner, his average total sales per customer, the average beverage sales per customer, and the number of premium entrees sold per serving. All of those things he'd measure will help him figure out, okay, well, how is this server doing compared to this server? Because this server is selling tons of premium entrees, but this one isn't. There might be a training gap there, or it helps him make food purchasing decisions, right? We never sell steak on Wednesdays. Let's not buy steak for Wednesdays. Whatever it is, if you measure it, you can make decisions based on it. If you don't measure it, you're just guessing. The other thing is, you want to identify what success means to you, because it will be different for every single person and every single business. Maybe part of success is only working 40 hours a week or getting Tuesdays off so that you can spend them, you know, taking your daughter to her ballet practice. I don't know. But you get to decide when you open a business what success means to you. And this is your opportunity to track it and keep an eye on it so you know you're on track. Some other things you could measure would include lead conversion rates, seasonality and timing of inquiries or purchases, referral sources, hourly income based on all the hours you work versus the actual income you're getting. That does require time tracking, which is one of my big please do this moments when I coach people. Please track all your time. The profitability of your services, your website traffic, retention rates, customer acquisition costs, annual revenue per service, annual revenue per referral service. That's just a random list of things you could be measuring. You don't need to measure everything. You want to measure the things that help you determine that you are on track to your definition of service or of success. You also might hear the term KPI. That stands for Key Performance Indicator. I got real excited when I learned about this, actually through SCORE. And what they are quantifiable, measurable, and actionable things that you're measuring, that you're tracking, and that are critical to the success of your organization. Again, that success is defined by you, tied to business goals and targets that you set. Ideally, you don't have more than 5 to 8 because then it's just messy and also just burdensome. And you keep consistent with measuring them throughout the company. You want to make sure that all these things you're measuring are not vague. They need to be actionable, reportable, and you want to just make sure that they are aligned, as I keep saying this, with your definition of success. Okay, so figure that out early so that you're on the right road and not on somebody else's road to success. Okay, take a minute, write down at least 3 things that you'll be able to measure that are going to tell you if you are on your path to success. All right, last 2 of the boxes. And next one is cost structure. This is where people start getting a little nervous sometimes if you're not naturally a numbers or money person, but I was not naturally a numbers or money person. If I can do it, you can definitely do it. So the cost structure is basically all the things that will cost you money when planning and preparing to launch your business, and then also once you actually are running your business. So it's going to be the cost of getting a customer, a cost of getting your service or product to that customer, the cost of your people and labor, employees, all of those things, right? So for the purposes of the Lean Canvas, all you need to do is list out the items that you're going to need funding for in order to start the business. Again, you don't need to put money with this right now. You're just making a list of all the things you're going to need money for before you can even open your doors, maybe building and site improvements, equipment and furnishings, your inventory, and any other opening costs, like maybe training your staff. Then you're also going to list any items that will be part of your monthly fixed costs. So like rent or salaries or utilities or bookkeeping, anything that will be the same number month after month after you start your business. And third, the items that will be part of your product or services variable costs. So for example, if you have a widget that you're going to ship, then obviously your shipping costs are going to vary every single month based on how many widgets you sold. If the dude was opening his cowboy chili parlor, he might say he's going to need money before he ever opens the doors to buy his building or lease it, to do the site improvements for all the furnishings, to buy all the equipment for the kitchen, to get the food and liquor inventory all stocked up, and just to train his staff. Then his monthly fix will be rent, salaries, utilities, bookkeeping, and then he's going to be super variable on those food and liquor costs, which is why he better be tracking and measuring those things as part of his key metrics. So I want you to take a minute. You're going to jot down the things that you think you're going to need money for before you launch, what costs will recur every month once you start your business, and what costs will vary. Oops, that should say that will vary every month you're in business. Remember, this is just a list. Don't worry about putting dollar amounts with it yet. You can work on that later with your mentor. Go ahead, you got 1 minute. And last but not least, your revenue stream, the whole point of all this stuff, the money flowing in. That's the last box. When it comes to the revenue stream, again, for purposes of the lean canvas, you don't need to worry about the numbers yet, but you want to describe the pricing model you have in mind. Like literally, how are you going to charge for your product or your service? You need to figure out the model. You need to make sure that you are then running the math on the revenue, your gross margins. Are you going to profit? When are you going to profit? Because remember, I said at the very beginning, a lot of people don't have a big enough cash cushion to sustain themselves from when they have money flowing out to when they have money flowing in, and enough money to make up first for all that money that flowed out, right? So you just got to figure out what kind of structure do you have in mind for pricing your product or service, and then you can run the math on it for figuring out if it'll turn a profit, if it'll turn enough of a profit, and when it'll turn a profit. So if the dude was opening his school of rope and writing, he might say, well, on average, I'd like to make about $100 an hour. And he might say that he knows that because of the cost that because of how much it costs to get a customer, and that cost doesn't change whether that customer buys 10 sessions or 1 session, that he's going to offer multi-month training plans with higher discounts on those longer contracts, but he's going to price up single-hour engagements because he has to account for that customer acquisition cost, even if it's just a 1-hour engagement. So you can start to structure, to just brainstorm how you're going to price your service or your product based on literally whatever you want to base it on. And then you can start running the math to make sure it's going to give you the results you're looking for. So take a second, literally a minute, go ahead and take a minute. You're going to write down your initial thoughts on how you're going to structure your income stream. Things like, will you charge hourly? Are you going to have a flat fee structure? Are you going to have a subscription option? Will you require all money up front? Are you going to offer payment plans with interest? Are you going to build in some passive income? Remember, again, this is just a list. You don't have to worry about the dollar amounts yet. You can work on that later with your mentor. So go ahead and dream up the kind of revenue stream that you've been thinking of for your business. right, so if you've been following along and you filled out every single one of these boxes with some bullet points on the lean canvas, that means you have a high-level draft business plan. Congratulations. And then you may be wondering, well, now what? Well, now that you've got a lean canvas, remember that you do have a lot of important decisions and critical plans to make. This is just a bullet point list. It's a brainstorming exercise to make sure that you can indeed fill out all of those boxes. Once you can, then you go into more detailed planning. If you can't fill out all those boxes, either work with your mentor to brainstorm them a little bit, or revisit your original business idea and see if you can't shift the idea a little bit with something that will have answers in all of those boxes, because they are all essential for a successful business plan. Remember that each box is an area for more detailed planning. You can review our SCORE Small Business Essentials task list for your next actions. It's meant to help you, give you a bit of a flow through what you're going to go through as you start and launch your business. Consider attending a detailed planning workshop. There are workshops specifically on formal business plans, on marketing, on all kinds of things. And remember that you're going to continually test and refine your idea, your product, your service, and hopefully update that written plan, because just like having a child, you're going to have this baby, you're going to have all these ideas for this baby, you're going to say this baby's going to grow up and play soccer. And then as that baby grows up, it has its own ideas. It takes its own journey. And in some ways, you're along for the ride at certain points. So you will want to keep reflecting back. Am I still on target to my definition of success? Am I still serving the people that my passion lies in serving? Or have I gotten off track because this baby had ideas of its own? And if it did, am I okay with those? I found as a business owner, 14 years in business now, that I've been very surprised with my business is gone, but what never changed were the underlying values that I had. I never wanted to serve the luxury market. I believe that everybody deserves to have a happy home. Our company is called Seriously Happy Homes. I can't necessarily price my services at a price that anybody can afford, but I can certainly shop at places that are not targeted at the luxury market. So while we have definitely grown past my wildest imagination and done things that I never expected to do, my values and my definitions of success related to my values have never changed. So that's what's going to be unwavering, even as your business baby grows up. Okay, you'll notice at the bottom there, it says, hint, do all this with your mentor. If you don't already know this, SCORE offers free one-to-one business mentoring. It can be in person in non-COVID times. It can be by the phone. It can be over Zoom. And it is so invaluable. Seriously, you guys, the amount of knowledge in each of the SCORE chapters is just off the charts. And I wish I'd listened to my mother when she told me to check into it when I was just starting my business. Live and learn, and take that advice from my mother. She knows stuff. Thank you so much for being here today. I hope that this was empowering and encouraging and not too overwhelming. This was, of course, brought to you by SCORE, partnered with the SBA. And the next step, if you haven't done it, like I said, reach out, get yourself a mentor, and good luck. I'm so glad that you're starting your entrepreneurial journey. Please make friends with other entrepreneurs. This is a crazy adventure. It will test you. It will test you and show you how strong you are. And it will make you wonder how strong you are certain days. And you're going to need other entrepreneurs along the way who get it, because 9-to-5ers are not going to get what you're going through. Okay. I will be around the full hour to answer any more text questions that come through. And until I see you around the entrepreneurial world, have fun. Bye, everybody.